David Lynch is probably one of the most recognizable indie directors working in Hollywood today. He's most well known for revolutionizing television with Twin Peaks and the follow-up film Twin Peaks Fire Walk With Me, which is actually screened at Cannes. We love international recognition. His filming style is so specific that it even has its own term, Lynchian, which characterizes his work with surreal, dreamlike, yet horrifying imagery. His persona is equally as odd as his own films.
I'm going to put these still warm panties, these fantastic pair of panties, in my mouth.
I think by now you can conclude that David Lynch is a pretty strange person and filmmaker. However, what really struck me about David Lynch is that almost all his work features a disabled character. As a disabled woman, I rarely see representations of disability in Hollywood films, so I was curious about his fascination with disabled characters, and well, it has varying results. One of the earliest short films Lynch made was The Amputee, which was made during his film school days at AFI. The Amputee is a black and white 4-minute one-take short film that shows Catherine Coulson, aka the Lock Lady in Twin Peaks, with both of her legs amputated. She's seen writing a letter, which she narrates, while a nurse changes her bandages. Her narration is about the relationship she's had, which contrasts with the grotesqueness that comes with the nurse changing the bandages. You even see bodily fluids leak out the amputated stumps. It's interesting because on the one hand, you see a disabled woman that has a rich inner life filled with her own interpersonal complexities. On the other hand, her disability is clearly meant to make the viewer squeamish. The woman herself is passive to the nurse that changes her bandages, which may indicate that she doesn't have full control over what happens with her body. Still though, it's kind of badass that she's smoking a cigarette with her stumps in full display. Lynch's fascination with physical deformities continues with his first feature-length film, Eraserhead. It's hard to define what exactly Eraserhead is about, but it's essentially about a man, Henry, who lives a miserable life in fictionalized Philadelphia with a girlfriend he doesn't like, and oops, she gets pregnant. That's why you use protection, kiddos. Anyways, spoiler alert, but she has the baby and it turns out to be a horrific alien monster. Oh my gosh. Interestingly, David Lynch refuses to say what the baby is made out of, but is speculated as an embalmed fetus of a baby calf. So, that's something. Anyways, the baby has no limbs, no way for fending for itself, and its sole purpose is to make Henry miserable. The baby is never even named, and is completely reliant on Henry to care for it. With this movie, we begin to see an emerging pattern of Lynch showing physical deformities as something disgusting and repulsive. Eraserhead was heavily inspired by the real-life birth of Lynch's own daughter, who was born with club feet and required extensive corrective surgery. David Lynch followed Eraserhead with yet another movie to prominently feature physical deformities, The Elephant Man. The Elephant Man is unique in that Lynch did not write the screenplay, which he does for most of his work, and was solely responsible for directing it. It's based on the true life story of Joseph Carey Merrick, an Englishman who was known for his severe physical deformities. The film reveals that his physical deformity prevents him from sleeping lying down, as he would asphyxiate and die. For some bizarre reason, he's referred to as Sean Merritt in the movie, which is annoying because they couldn't even get the name right of the man the movie is about. It only gets worse from there on. The opening scene of the movie portrays Sean's mother, while heavily pregnant with him, getting knocked down by an elephant. It implies, quote, that deformity is the result of unnatural, bestial intercourse, by having the mother apparently raped by an elephant. This suggests that having a physical deformity is the direct result of a cruel, violent, and bestial action. As a result, the scene dehumanizes Sean, as he's viewed as something not completely human as a result of the brutal sexual assault. First of all, holy shit, and second of all, holy shit. I think it should go without saying, but that's not how physical deformities are made, and to equate it with such a savage action is horrific. The film does, however, try to humanize Sean. He's portrayed as a gentle, kind man who has just dealt with unfortunate hands of cards. It's always the able-bodied characters that are shown behaving violently towards him. He begins the movie being held captive by sadistic and abusive showmen. The abuse ends up resulting in John's stay at the hospital where he befriends Dr. Frederick Trees. Dr. Trees is one of the few characters to treat John well in the film and tries to integrate John with Victorian society. However, the tragedy is that Jean is never fully able to be in control over his own fate. He goes from the circus to the hospital to being kidnapped. When surrounded by an angry mob, Jean Merritt cries out,
I am not an elephant! I am not an animal! I am a human being!
Davis writes, quote, "To have a disability is to be an animal, to be part of the other. Jean's physical deformity prevents the other people from viewing him as fully human rather than just an animal on display. To the other characters in the film, Jean will always be an other and never will be fully accepted as one of them." The Elephant Man is an interesting film where it's clear the filmmakers were trying to distinguish between how the characters treated Jean Merrick. Unfortunately, it veers into a condescending realm because Jean is never really viewed as a fully realized human being. Jean is always gentle and kind, but he's never given room to get angry over his circumstances or show three-dimensional behavior. He's never given true autonomy over his actions, and the film ends with Jean's death. The film opens with him in a cage, and he dies in a different one. The last film we'll discuss is A Straight Story. Like The Elephant Man, The Straight Story is based on true events and was also not written by David Lynch. The film is about Alvin Straight, an elderly World War II veteran who is losing his mobility as well as his vision. When Alvin hears that his brother has stroke, he is determined to see his brother at any cost, so he rides an ancient lawnmower since he cannot operate a car. He travels from Iowa to Wisconsin on a bizarre lawnmower trip. Even though Alvin has undertaken an arguably ridiculous journey, the audience is able to see that he's actually a very intelligent and sympathetic man. Throughout the film, we see Alvin's intelligence and kindness. He convinces a pregnant hitchhiker to reunite with her family and successfully negotiates with bickering twin brothers to fix his lawnmower at a reduced rate. The other disabled character in the film is Rose, Alvin Straight's daughter, played by the wonderful Sissy Spacek. The full extent of Rose's disability is not known, but she clearly has a speech impediment. Rose is portrayed to be a devoted daughter who takes care of her aging father and is shown to be a logical thinker. Alvin tells a pregnant woman that Rose had her children taken away from her. One night, someone was watching Rose's children when there's a fire, and one of her sons got badly burned. The state declared Rose unfit to take care of her children and took them away. It can be inferred that the state thought that Rose's speech disability meant that she was unable to be a good parent and therefore took away her children. There's no evidence that Rose mistreated her children or is not fit to be a mother. The unfortunate reality is that her disability made the state think that she could not handle having children. The Straight Story humanizes its disabled characters. Alvin and Rose are complex three-dimensional characters who are flawed but human. The film tackles the theme of independence for its disabled characters. Alvin is a stubborn old man who clearly hates relying on other people. However, due to his poor hips and his age, he has to begrudgingly accept help from others, his daughter, friends, and strangers. Rose helps take care of her father and is able to keep the house organized and functioning. However, due to her disability, her children were taken away from her. The film portrays two disabled characters whose independence have been taken away from them through external and internal forces, which is a real issue that affects many disabled people. I think it's a great representation of disabled characters, but it's also telling that Lynch did not write the screenplay. In summation, David Lynch has an extensive filmography, and this video in no way covers every single disabled person that appears in his work. There's plenty to be said about the characters in Twin Peaks, Prentice and Gordon Cole.
One year we went to Bora Bora. Would you like to speak with Sheriff True?
Yes.
Lucy, I'm returning his call.
And his other work, but that's a discussion for another day. Even though his depictions of disabled characters can be very mixed, there's still something to be said that he goes out of his way to feature them prominently in so many of his work, which mainstream Hollywood simply does not do.